Long ago, in the rolling hills and deep forests of Zululand, there was a king named Nkosi Thulani. His people called him the Lion of the Valley, for he was brave, wise, and just. Under his rule, the village thrived. Farmers planted plentiful crops. Hunters returned with game. Children laughed in the sun, while elders taught the ways of the ancestors. The kingdom knew peace, and the neighbors feared the strength of Nkosi Thulani, for his courage was unmatched in battle. Yet the king was humble. He listened to his elders. He sought advice from the healers and the warriors. He believed that true power came not from the strength of one man, but from the unity of many. One evening, as the sun dipped red behind the hills, a mysterious elder arrived at the royal kraal. He was cloaked in white cloth, his eyes sparkling with secrets. In his hands, he carried a beautifully carved horn, long and spiraling like the horns of the mighty kudu. "King Thulani," the elder said, bowing low, "I bring you a gift from the ancestors." The king accepted the horn, noticing the faint glow that shimmered along its curves. "This is no ordinary horn," the elder whispered. "It carries the strength of the spirits. Blow it in times of great danger, and unseen forces will rise to aid you. But beware, pride and greed will turn its blessing into a curse." The king nodded solemnly. He placed the horn in the royal hall and promised to use it wisely. Years passed, and the kingdom flourished. Yet whispers began in the villages. Some warriors said they had seen Nkosi Thulani stand taller, speak louder, and smile a little too proudly. For the first time, the king wondered, could he be stronger than the spirits themselves? Could he protect his people forever with a horn? The test came sooner than he expected. A neighboring chief declared war. His army was vast, and the villagers were terrified. Nkosi Thulani lifted the magic horn, his lips touching its carved edge, and blew. The sound echoed through the mountains. Clouds swirled. Winds rose. From the trees came spirits of ancestors, unseen but felt, who scattered the enemy like leaves of storm. The villagers cheered. Their king had saved them. From that day, Nkosi Thulani became a hero of legends. Children sang songs of the king who called the spirits with the horn. Elders told stories of his courage by the fire. But power is a slow fire. It warms the heart, and then it burns. After many seasons, the king began to use the horn more often, not for danger, but to show strength. He blew it to impress neighboring villages. He blew it to frighten rivals. Each time, the wind rose. Each time, the people whispered. The spirits answer the horn, but they do not forgive pride. Still, the king did not listen. Pride filled his chest like a growing drum. He started ordering the villagers to honor him more than the ancestors. He demanded that all decisions pass through him. Farmers were forced to give him the first fruits. Hunters gave him the first kill. The magic horn made him feared, but it also began to twist him. One day, a young warrior, bold and clever, approached the king. "Nkosi," he said, bowing carefully, "the horn is a gift of the spirits. Do not let it make you forget the people you serve." The king laughed, a deep, booming sound that made the boy shrink. "Child," he said, "I am the Lion of the Valley. The horn obeys me, and so shall everyone else. I do not need lessons from children." That night, as the king held the horn close, a shadow rose behind him. In the glow of the fire, he saw visions of his enemies, defeated and trembling. He smiled. For the first time, fear felt sweet. From that moment, Nkosi Thulani began his descent. The hero the people had loved became a ruler who demanded obedience. If a village elder disagreed, he blew the horn and their crops failed, or strange storms fell upon their homes. If a warrior questioned him, the wind howled and frightened the animals. The people grew afraid. They whispered each other. Even a lion could be trapped in his own pride. One dry season, the worst in decades, famine struck. The rivers shrank. Crops withered. The villagers came to the king for help, but Nkosi Thulani was too proud to ask the ancestors forgiveness. He lifted the horn and blew, hoping to summon the spirits as before. Nothing happened. The wind stayed still. The sky remained silent. The horn trembled in his hands, but no unseen forces appeared. The king's heart sank. In desperation, He blew again, harder, wishing he could bend the spirits to his will. And then it happened. A terrible sound, a thunderous roar that shattered the quiet night. The horn cracked. Sparks flew. The magic he had taken for himself turned against him. The villagers watched in fear as their once great king fell to his knees. The horn slipped from his grasp, hitting the stone floor and splintering into pieces. A gust of wind scattered the remnants of power into the hills and rivers, carrying the spirit's judgment. Nkosi Thulani looked around. His kingdom suffered because of him. Families were hungry. Crops were lost. The villagers feared him. The king realized, too late, that heroism without humility is not true strength, and power without wisdom is deadly. The elders gathered and said, "Even the lion must bow to the ancestors. Pride blinds the strongest heart. Magic serves only those who respect it." Nkosi Thulani spent the rest of his days helping the people rebuild. Sometimes he was respected, sometimes he was feared, but he never again tried to control forces beyond his heart. And the story of the magic horn of the Zulu King was told for generations, a warning that even heroes can become villains when pride replaces wisdom. The sun rose slowly over the valley, spilling golden light over the village that had once sung the praises of Nkosi Thulani, the lion of the valley. But the lion had fallen. The horn lay shattered at the foot of the king's hut, its magic scattered like dust over the hills. The villagers stood quietly, looking at the broken pieces, unsure of what the future would bring. For months, the village struggled. Crops that had been well tended wilted. The rivers ran thin, and the hunters returned with empty hands. Mothers whispered prayers to the ancestors, while children clutched each other, asking questions their elders could not answer. The village had been used to the strength of one man, and now that strength was gone. Yet, life has a way of moving forward, even when the ground seems broken. The elders gathered under the large Irako tree, its branches heavy with age and wisdom. They spoke softly, choosing words with care. "The king has fallen," said one elder, his voice creaking like old wood. "But we are still here. The land is still ours. We must remember that the horn never gave power to him alone. The strength was always in the people." Another elder nodded. "We taught him. We gave him advice. The horn did not fail. He did. The spirits answered only the heart that listens, not the hand that commands." The village slowly began to rebuild itself. Without the king's commands, farmers returned to land, planting according to the old ways, using knowledge passed down from ancestors. They worked together, helping each other to dig, to water, to harvest. The elders taught the children songs and stories, reminding them that the wisdom of the land was for everyone, not for one man alone. But the villagers were cautious. The memory of Nkosi Thulani's pride lingered. They had seen what arrogance could bring. Many whisper among themselves, "Even a hero can become a tyrant," and they carried the lesson carefully, knowing that power without humility could rise again in the heart of another. The hunters, once guided by the king's commands, began forming small groups. They shared stories of the animals, of the wind, of the rain. Each hunter's skill became a lesson for others. They laughed and joked again, their eyes shone with pride, but this time it was a pride rooted in cooperation, not fear. In the evenings, the village gathered around the fire. They told stories of the lion who had tried to hold all wisdom in one hand. Children asked questions, and the elders answered, teaching not only about the past, but about how to face the future. "Remember," one elder said, pointing to the stars belong to everyone. They shine for all who look upon them. So too does wisdom. It cannot be stolen or hoarded. It is a gift for those who respect it. One young girl, named Ayanda, listened more carefully than most. Her eyes sparkled as she watched the elders. She had been small when the king had fallen, but she remembered the fear and the wonder. She remembered the golden glow of the horn and the roar of the wind it had summoned. And in her heart, she felt a promise. She would never let pride rule her, but she would learn. Ayanda became known among the villagers as a listener. She spent her mornings with the farmers, learning the rhythm of the earth. She went with the hunters into the forest, observing the tracks and trails. She learned from the healers, understanding the herbs and roots, and she listened to the stories of the ancestors in the firelight. Piece by piece, she gathered knowledge, not to hold power over others, but to help. Life after the king also brought change in the way the people viewed the horn. Children told tales of the magic horn as they played, imagining what would have been like to hear it roar. But adults were more careful. They reminded the young that magic is not to be wielded by the selfish, that power without purpose can destroy more than it protects. The horn, though broken, had left a lesson stronger than steel. Wisdom must serve the community, not the individual. Over time, a council formed in place of the king. It was made of elders, hunters, healers, and even children like Ayanda who had shown curiosity and respect. Decisions were made together, and the villagers felt a new sense of balance. Arguments still arose, but now they were solved with dialogue rather than force. Markets thrived because everyone had a voice. Disputes over land were settled fairly. Even during the dry season, the people found ways to share water and preserve food. But the shadow of Nkosi Thulani lingered. Stories were told not to glorify him, but to warn. A hero without humility becomes a danger to all. Sometimes villagers would catch a glimpse of a man in the hills who seemed tall and proud. They would shiver, remembering the king's roar, and they would whisper to each other, "Do not let pride return to the village." And yet, the village learned to laugh again. The firelight returned to children's faces. Songs rose into the evening air. Ayanda, now older, would lead them in dances, her hands weaving patterns of the past and future. The elders would watch and nod, knowing the lesson of the horn had been carried forward, not as a tool of fear, but as a story of caution. Seasons passed. Trees grew taller. Rivers ran fuller. The memory of the horn became a legend, told not with awe of magic, but with respect for the balance it represented. Travelers would come from distant villages to hear the story of the lion who fell, and the people of the valley would smile and say, "Wisdom is not in one man. Wisdom is in all who listen, all who share, all who care." One evening, Ayanda climbed the small hill overlooking the village. She felt the wind on her face and remembered the sound of the horn. Long ago, she smiled, thinking of the lesson it had left behind. The village was alive, strong, and free, not because of one king, not because of magic, but because the people had chosen to learn together, to work together, and to respect the land and each other. In the quiet moments, she imagined Nkosi Thulani walking among them. But he was not feared now. He was remembered. His fall had taught the villagers the greatest lesson of all, that true heroism comes not from the strength of one, but from the hearts of many working as one. And so, life in the valley flourished. Children grew wise, hunters grew skilled, farmers grew patient, and the elders' word became the true magic that held the village together. The horn, broken and powerless, rested beneath the Irako tree as a reminder, not of fear, not of anger, but of balance, humility, and shared wisdom. The story of the Zulu King's horn became a tale of transformation, of hero to villain, of pride to lesson, and of a village that rose stronger because it remembered and because it listened. In the heart of the valley, under the sun and stars, the people sang, danced, and lived in harmony. And the wind, which once answered only the horn, now whispered to the trees a gentle reminder to all. Power is nothing without the heart that serves.